2025 royal trend, Princess Leonor's lavished ceremony becomes the year's most talked about wedding. The palace bells echoed across Madrid. Cameras flashed. The world watched. But no one expected what would come next. This wasn't just another royal wedding, it was a turning point. A lavish ceremony so grand, so emotionally charged, that it redefined what it means to be royal in the modern age. This is the story of Princess Leonor's wedding, the moment that became the heartbeat of 2025. It began under the golden skies of Spain, where every street seemed to hum with excitement. From the royal courtyards to the quiet cafes, whispers of the grand ceremony filled the air. People weren't just curious, they were enchanted. For years, Princess Leonor had been the symbol of a new Spain, poised, disciplined, and deeply loved. But this day, she stepped into a new role, not just as heir to the throne, but as a bride whose love story had captured the world. The setting was nothing short of cinematic. The historic Almudena Cathedral shimmered with light reflected off its marble floors. Hundreds of white roses framed the grand aisle, each petal representing purity, tradition, and the enduring hope of a nation. Royal guards in immaculate uniform lined the entrance, their faces solemn yet proud. But beyond the spectacle, beyond the luxury, was something deeper, a story of two hearts meeting under the weight of crowns and duty. Princess Leonor's gown, crafted by Spain's most renowned designer, told its own story. It wasn't just a dress, it was history stitched in silk. The delicate lace was woven with threads of gold, echoing the royal lineage of her ancestors, while the modern silhouette reflected the woman she had become, confident, compassionate, and ready to lead. The train flowed behind her like a river of light as she walked through the cathedral, every step deliberate, graceful, and filled with meaning. As the choir began to sing, the doors opened to reveal Prince Christian of Denmark, standing tall at the altar. His eyes, calm, steady, but brimming with emotion, met hers, and in that instant, time seemed to pause. This was more than a marriage of two people, it was a union of nations. Spain and Denmark, two royal houses bound by centuries of history, now linked through love. What followed was a ceremony that blended old-world tradition with a modern touch. The vows were simple but powerful. No grand speeches, just heartfelt promises whispered between two young royals who had grown up under the scrutiny of the world, yet somehow found their way to each other's hearts. The moment Princess Leonor's voice broke slightly as she said, "I choose you," a wave of emotion rippled through the audience. Even Queen Letizia was seen wiping away tears, her eyes shining with pride. Outside the cathedral, the crowds erupted as the couple emerged hand in hand. Bells rang. Confetti filled the sky. For a moment, Spain stood still. Every screen, every news channel, every social feed carried the same image, Leonor and Christian, smiling beneath the golden arches of history. But what made this wedding truly unforgettable wasn't just the luxury, it was what it symbolized. For years, royal families have been redefining their identities, caught between tradition and modernity. And Leonor, at just 19, embodied that balance perfectly. She represented a monarchy willing to evolve, to open its heart to love, to show that royalty could be human too. Behind the grandeur, though, there were quiet moments that never made the headlines. The late-night rehearsals where Leonor practiced walking the aisle alone, rehearsing not just her steps but her composure. The letters exchanged between her and Christian, written in secret, filled with words of reassurance and devotion. The private blessings she received from her father, King Felipe VI, who reminded her that love, not power, defines true legacy. As the reception began at the royal palace, the atmosphere shifted from solemnity to celebration. Chandeliers glittered above tables draped in white linen and gold embroidery. The scent of jasmine filled the air, and music from Spain and Denmark merged beautifully, creating a symphony that reflected both cultures. Guests from across Europe, royalty, diplomats, and celebrities, mingled, yet all eyes remained fixed on the newlyweds. Their first dance was nothing short of magical. Under a dome of starlight, Leonor and Christian moved gracefully, as if time itself had slowed to honor them. There was a tenderness between them, a quiet understanding that this was not the end of a story, but the beginning of one that would shape nations. The way he whispered something in her ear that made her laugh, it was raw, human, and profoundly touching. As the night deepened, the speeches brought both laughter and tears. Queen Margrethe of Denmark spoke of legacy and courage, calling Leonor a daughter of Europe. King Felipe raised his glass to a future written with grace, duty, and love. But it was Leonor's own words that silenced the room. In a world that changes faster than we can imagine, love remains our most royal tradition. By morning, the world was in awe. The internet exploded with photos, analyses, and admiration. Hashtags trended across continents. Fashion experts called it a masterpiece of royal elegance. Diplomats called it a bridge of nations. But for millions of ordinary people, it was something more personal, a reminder that love, even among those born into duty, is still the most human of emotions. Over the days that followed, new details emerged. The royal couple had personally chosen the music for their ceremony. Leonor's veil was embroidered with a secret message: faith, hope, and love. The design of her tiara symbolized unity between Spain's past and its future. Even the menu, carefully curated by Spanish and Danish chefs, was a fusion of their two worlds. But perhaps the most touching moment came long after the cameras were gone. As they left for their private honeymoon retreat, witnesses reported seeing Leonor pause at the gates of the palace, turning back one last time. She looked up at the Spanish flag fluttering above and smiled, a small, knowing smile that said everything. She was no longer just Spain's crown princess. She was a woman stepping into her destiny, hand in hand with the man she loved. The 2025 royal wedding of Princess Leonor wasn't just the most talked about event of the year, it was a cultural moment. It redefined what royal luxury meant. It wasn't about diamonds, palaces, or gold-plated carriages. It was about authenticity, connection, and the courage to embrace love in a world that often demands perfection. Every generation has its royal icon. For the world in 2025, that icon is Leonor. A princess who dared to dream. A woman who turned duty into devotion. A leader who showed that true power lies not in ceremony, but in compassion. As the world continues to watch her rise, one thing is certain: this was not just a wedding. It was the beginning of a new chapter in royal history. A story of love that transcends borders, inspires millions, and reminds us all that even behind the crown, the heart still beats the loudest.